Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive? We're going to unpack two videos you shared from Voice from Beyond today, The Art of Letting Go and The Courage to be Vulnerable. Both about unlocking potential, but from different angles, and I'm curious to see what we find.
You hit the nail on the head with different angles because these videos really complement each other. They both touch on this idea that to really grow, we have to let go of what's holding us back, but then embrace vulnerability to move forward. It's a two-parter for sure.
Okay, I'm intrigued already. And for those who don't know Voice from Beyond, they create these awesome, thought-provoking videos. Really gets you thinking. In The Art of Letting Go, they open with a question. They ask,
Mhm.
have you ever felt like you're carrying a weight, something heavy, holding you back? And honestly, who haven't?
Right. It's such a universal feeling, that weight. And the video does a great job of getting specific about what those weights might be. Instead of being vague, they're like, nope, here's what's probably dragging you down.
Exactly. They get real. They talk about toxic relationships, old dreams we're clinging to, even past versions of ourselves. It's like they're peeking into our souls a bit.
They totally are. And those are some heavy hitters for sure. Toxic relationships, especially, can really weigh you down. But it made me think, why is it so hard to let go, even when we know something's bad for us?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
I think fear plays a huge part. Fear of the unknown, fear of being alone, fear of change. Comfort zones are called that for a reason, right? Even when they're kind of stale. And then sometimes it's about the dream itself.
Oh, you know what? I've been there. Holding on to something way past its expiration date.
Totally. The video talks about how we cling to the idea of something we wanted, even if it doesn't fit who we are now.
Like that favorite T-shirt from high school, maybe?
Yeah.
You haven't worn it in ages. Doesn't really fit. But the memories.
Spot on. And that's where the video's message about letting go comes in. It's not about giving up, it's about making space.
Creating space, I like that. Less about emptying out, more about making room for something new. But what does that actually look like, practically speaking? How do we even begin to create that space?
It's like, imagine you have this garden, right? But it's totally overgrown. Weeds everywhere, old plants that haven't bloomed in years. Creating space is like clearing out all that gunk, giving yourself room to plant new stuff and actually let it grow.
Okay, I can visualize that. Makes creating space feel less like a loss and more like a fresh start. But then how does vulnerability come in? That's the part where I'm kind of lost.
And that's where that second video, the courage to be vulnerable, fits in perfectly. It's like, okay, you've created the space, great. Now what are you going to do with it? And that's where vulnerability comes in.
So we're not just weeding the garden and walking away.
hmm
We have to actually be brave enough to plant new things, even if we're not sure they'll work out.
Exactly. And the video's creator, they actually share this really personal story about this. They talk about feeling all this pressure to appear strong all the time, never showing weakness or asking for help.
Ugh, I feel that. It's like this unspoken rule, especially in certain settings. Like you always have to have it all together. Did they mention how they got past that?
They did. And it's actually a great example of vulnerability in action. So they finally hit this breaking point and confide in a close friend, really lay bare their struggles and fears. And you know what? Instead of judgment, they're met with total support and understanding.
That's huge, but still so scary to think about doing
Huh.
actually being that vulnerable with someone. Does Voice from Beyond give any advice on how to actually start doing that?
Yeah, they make a good point that vulnerability isn't about oversharing or putting everything out there. It's more about being authentic, letting people see the real you, even the messy parts.
Okay, that feels a bit less intimidating. But how do we know what to share and what to keep private? Where's the line?
And that's where the video gets super practical. They suggest starting small. Instead of trying to tackle every single area you've been holding back in, just pick one area where you can practice being vulnerable.
Starting small. Okay, yeah, that feels way more doable than like this big dramatic tell everyone everything kind of thing.
Yeah.
But how do we actually choose that one area? Like, where do we even begin?
Well, the videos suggest thinking about an area where you've been holding back, maybe because you're scared of being judged or rejected. And they actually challenge you to ask yourself, what if I don't open up here? What's the risk of keeping everything bottled up?
Ooh, that's deep. It's like sometimes that fear of what might happen if we're vulnerable is way worse than what happens if we just let it out.
Totally. And here's where it gets really exciting. Both videos talk about how when we let go of what's no longer serving us and embrace vulnerability, we unlock this incredible potential for growth, for connection, even for creativity. They actually call vulnerability a superpower.
A superpower. Okay, I love that. But
Mhm.
do they explain why it's so powerful? Like, what actually makes it a superpower?
They do. They say that vulnerability helps us connect with people on a much deeper level, builds trust, helps us build more authentic relationships, and it opens us up to new opportunities and experiences because when we're not so scared of showing our true selves, we're more likely to take risks, go after what we really want.
So, like, letting go makes the space, and vulnerability gives us the courage to actually step into that space and just be ourselves.
100%. It's a process, obviously, not like flipping a switch. But even taking those small steps, identifying what we need to let go of and where we can be more vulnerable, it's how we unlock that next level of, I don't know, just being real and reaching our full potential.
This has been awesome. Such a thought-provoking deep dive. I know I've got a lot to think about. And if you're listening out there, we want to hear from you. What's one brave action you're going to take this week to unlock your potential? Share your thoughts. And hey, remember, vulnerability just might be that superpower you've been searching for.